Hello? So I'm like the Jolly Green Giant, so I'm going to sit down here and talk to everybody. But thank you for coming out tonight. This is something that's new for us. We're relatively new to Union Chapel, and we're so honored and blessed to be asked to take on this group. And I want to give you a little bit of my background, and Jodie will do the same. I so wish I would have been connected to a group like this when I was your age. I was not raised in a Christian home, so my pathway is maybe a little different than most of you. And but the coolest thing is that along the way, God put all these godly people in my path and said, "Hey, you don't need to hang around with those people. These are the people like Dave Jennings." And put people in my path that said, "Hey, you're going to youth group with them." And I'm like, "What's a youth group? I don't even go to church." And so I kind of stumbled along that path for a few years. And then, by the way, I'm a dentist in Muncie. And so I had my nose in a book for 100 years and studied and had no time for many relationships and all that stuff. And got out of dental school and met this lovely lady to my left. And she said, "Oh, you got to hunker down. I'm not just going out with anybody. You got to figure this thing out." So slowly but surely, I'm coming along, okay? And while some paths are a straighter line, mine's been very, kind of S-shaped all along the way, trying to figure things out. And, being a dentist, I have that engineer mind, and unfortunately, I always have to know answers and want to know things black and white. And, Jodie has set me straight a lot of times. and I've figured out that, it's by faith that we figured this all out. And there's not going to be a black and white answer, and you just have to trust. And now that once I got to that comfort level, things are so much easier. So we're hoping to, help you along your path. And some of you will have a lot in common with me, but some of you will have a lot more in common with Jodie. And so we want to make this fun and make it always a learning experience and just kind of hang out with you guys. So there you go.
That's all you got?
I knew you'd take a lot longer.
I know. I thought
okay, I'm done.
Okay. I'm probably more detailed than you are, but our stories are a little different in the way that we were raised, but yet God has knit us together and grown us together. So I've been in church since I was 2 weeks old and haven't known really anything different, and am grateful for that upbringing. And it was when I was at junior high camp a long time ago that I specifically prayed for the Lord to be the Lord of my life and to forgive me of my sins. And I just remember, I can't remember the date specifically, but I remember that specific moment. And so that was junior high school. I was kind of ebb and flow with my faith, and still went to church, but really wasn't growing in my relationship with the Lord. And then started college. We got married when I was in college, and we went to church just because we knew that was the right thing to do, but really, again, wasn't growing in my faith. But then eventually we have three kids, 26, 23, and 19. So when our oldest was born, Megan, it was just like a light switch went off in my heart, knowing that God had entrusted us with this little one to raise, and it was our responsibility to raise her in a Christian home and raise our future kids. And so God really began to deal in my heart in that way at that time. And then when our middle daughter was born, my mom got involved in a Bible study, and I'd never seen my mom so on fire for the Lord, even though she'd been in church all her life and all my life. And she never invited me to this Bible study, which really made me mad because I saw that she was like so on fire for the Lord. And so I just decided I was just going to show up at this Bible study one night. And I had a 3-year-old and a newborn. And so the kids would hang out with Greg on Monday nights. And I started going to this Bible study. And it was there that God just really ignited my faith and ignited my passion for him when I really began to dive into his word and begin to understand who he was and his character and how big he was and how small I was, and yet he desired this amazing relationship with me. And I just found my nose in the Bible when the kids were asleep or at any free time I had, and I was just gobbling it up, and I was growing in my faith more rapidly than I ever had in my entire life at that point. And I was, I think, 25 years old-ish, somewhere around in there. And so eventually I stuck with that Bible study, and God called me into some leadership roles in that Bible study, and I began to teach his word on a weekly basis to many women at that time. It was specifically a women's Bible study, and was called out of that a couple years ago. And long story short, we had been in the same church ever since since I was 2 weeks old. It was the same church that I was born in, we got married in, our kids were raised in, and about a year and a half ago, we decided it was time for a change. And our young adult kids were coming to church here, and we just decided to follow them, and just fell in love with Union Chapel. The people, the preaching, very sound biblical teaching, and people were just loving on us like crazy. And then we got involved with First Impressions, and now Greg's doing worship, and now we find ourselves here. And we really weren't even, we had no idea that this position was even going to be available. We weren't looking.
I blame Kinsey.
Yeah. So we weren't looking specifically to work with young adults, but our passion, I feel like I'm going to speak for Greg too, our passion is just to encourage you in your season of life. I know there's multiple seasons of life represented in this room, even though you're kind of in the same age gap. You've got lots of different things going on in different seasons of life, and so our heart is just to cheer you on, to grow you in relationships with one another, but ultimately in your relationship with the Lord. And we're gonna do some Bible study, and we're gonna have fun while we're doing it, and we're gonna build relationships while we're doing it, and that's our goal, and our heart and our prayer has been that God would already begin to develop a love in our hearts for each one of you, and because we know right now it's a tough gig in our world. For your age group, for our age group, for any age group, really. And so, again, we just want to spur you on and cheer you on, and we'd love to have feedback from you guys. What you're seeking. We don't want it to be about us at all. We just want to be here to help you in your walk with the Lord and in your whatever's going on in your life. So. We want to be transparent with you, and we want you to be transparent with us, and walk side by side with you guys through all this. So please feel free to give us feedback and ideas. If you have ideas of fun things we can do, we'd love to, look outside, going, especially when the weather breaks, doing things together, maybe away from this setting. And we have a great place out at our house. And so even just, ideas like that, we would welcome. If there's anything specifically you want to study, we're open to that. So give us what you got, and we'll go from there. So.